right, let's call to order the January 23rd, 2023, 6 o'clock Franklin Tourism Commission meeting. Roll call, Ed Helfler.
President.
Jeff Kuderski.
Here.
Tom Rothford, President. Lance Schaefer is not here. Mark Wiley. Here. Barbara Wessner.
Here.
Item number 2, citizen comment period. We do not have any citizens in the room. Item number 3, draft minutes approval from December 21st, 2022 meeting.
On the
Should be on the back.
On the
Should be on the back page of the
Second
agenda.
front page. Just trying to save some trees. That was also sent out by email. Would move to approve.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Item number 4, Engage Franklin Agreement Update. Laura. Hi.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good.
Good to see you. So basically, at this point in time, I know that John has distributed a 100% editable version. It was our attorney put that together by way of taking a bunch of them from other destinations in Wisconsin, kind of mashing them up, so that there are a lot of elements from a lot of different destinations that are doing things that are working, and it is 100% intentionally put together. Red pen, 100% intentionally put together, red pen by you guys, which I hear, it's been distributed and at least some of you have taken a peek and offered edits. So I just wanted to bring to the table the idea that Engage Franklin as the proposed tourism entity is, I want this to be something we draft together. I want it to be something that everybody's comfortable with. The simple fact that I was the one to propose, or Engage Franklin was the one to propose the initial contract, is just to get us a jumping off point for discussion, right? What do you like? What don't you like? What makes you nervous? What makes you excited? And so everything is totally open to being negotiated, so to speak, or compromised. So all I truly want to do is offer the services of the tourism entity so that I can fully service one entity or another, and to truly be a non-biased representative for the tourism assets that we have. So instead of doing another presentation, because this is my 3rd time, guys, right, and we've all spoken individually, I wanted to open the door to questions and to just have a background to everybody for what questions you might have when you sit and contemplate this agreement. I'd prefer that you guys bring up what's relevant to you so that I can address everything piece by piece. So if you want me to step through the actual agreement, I can do that. Obviously there's the Franklin Field Agreement that also has been part of discussion that I'm assuming we want things to be congruent with that agreement. Obviously no contradictions or things going in different directions. So yeah, I think I'll just turn it back to you guys as a group and allow you to, ask any questions or search for any clarifications that make you more comfortable and make.
Any questions? I glanced over this, so my question to you would be, what is the difference between this one versus the last one? The last agreement that you gave us?
Nothing.
Nothing.
It's the same agreement.
Okay.
The exact same one that you've been providing.
If we were to go through this, how would we monitor the results? When would the goals, objectives, timelines, all of that stuff, when would that take?
Great. So what I would like to do to kick things off, we have an agreement in the works, is to have a strategic action planning session. Like any organization would do, where all the stakeholders are participating. That would mean all of you on the commission, anyone from the council who's interested, Mayor Olson, of course, and then my board of directors, which is now established. And then my board of directors, which is now established. So everybody in the same room deciding on the goals and objectives for years 1, 3, 5, and then creating benchmarks for success. And then it's up to me then to produce results that are measurable and data with outcomes that you guys can measure the success of these goals that I've been set out to do. So, for example, I'll distribute this to you guys. These are just ideas. So these are things that I would bring to strategic action planning as ideas, things on the table. Different projects that can be taken on, the budget and the timelines for each of the projects. And so I did it according to $100,000. But as you can see, it's kind of like an a la carte menu. You know, there are different options and different ideas and different things that we can do. Some of them may require some clarification. Strategic action planning, obviously, we'll want a facilitator. We'll have a lot of opinions in the room. We'll have a lot of individuals who, want to be heard, and then we need to make sure that it's an ultimate compromise of all stakeholders. So that costs money, obviously. That's the one I'd have to say is a must, because that's how we get to what Ed asked for. And then for GTA Symposium and FAM Tour, that's a nationally recognized organization with rights holder groups for all different types of sanctioned events, anything from baseball and basketball to cup stacking to horseshoe pitching to fill in the blank, right? It's everything. So we join and then we do, right? It's everything. So we join and then we do mini dates with a bunch of different rights holders, and we select the ones that are best fits for our community, invite them back for a familiarity tour, really show off the facilities, really show off our hospitality, and then we hopefully garner the business. Visitor's Guide, I've mentioned that one before. I think you all understand what that one is in that realm, and obviously there's great resources like In the Room, for example, for companies who are phenomenal in that realm. And then website, I put in parentheses on the opposite side of the page there, website community calendar feature. I feel like this is something that's missing in Franklin. That is a real way for Engage Franklin to be the hub for information, both online and social media and on the website. So I feel like a calendar of events that truly features everything that's going on in Franklin is kind of a number one need that we have, not represented anywhere. There's kind of a number one need that we have, not represented anywhere. There are a ton of smaller calendars throughout the web and, out the community, but there's no one hub for information. I'd like to get that going. User-generated content. There's a company called Sherpa who does a wonderful job with creating. They have an entire pool of bloggers and basically people who are influencers on the internet for travel, and so you can pay them to come and do an adventure in your city and then blog about it, post it all over, and there's past visitor center. I feel like I can comfortably pull off a mobile visitor center for $21,000. Will it be perfect? Will it need investment in the future? Of course, but I feel like I could do something in that realm. And then trade shows. So Milwaukee Sports Show is always really popular. Circle Wisconsin is for motor coach business. Wisconsin Society Association Executives. So that's for the meetings and conventions. I could try to fill the Polish Center and all the other different. So those are just some ideas of projects, like an a la carte menu. If you want to fund $100,000, we can do them all. If you want to fund anything less, these are amounts that I perceive they would cost. Hopefully that more than answers.
So this is what you figure we would be investing these amounts?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, and you notice obviously all the timelines are staggered and things like that, so allocation timeline would have to be considered if you're picking from this like a menu, because we know that money only gets distributed, amount of times and in X amounts, right? So we really have to be organized with understanding if we're signing a contract that we'd be able to keep. And this is also, you'll notice if you do do the math on all of the totals, you'll notice if you do the math on all of the totals, it goes over 100,000, but there's visitor guide advertising revenue that I kind of in my head budgeted, or conservatively, we could probably make about 25,000 on a good side.
So I guess the question that I would make is if we're doing a $100,000 contract, then I'm assuming that there's some other mechanism that's funding you and any other staff.
Well, my salary is right now paid for by profit. So ideally, in the future, I don't want that to happen. Ideally, in the future, we build room tax revenue with the development of things, therefore not beholden to anybody. But I figured this first year, I'd build a budget projection up to 100,000 that I could really kick some butt and show you guys what can be done. Set some things in motion that are really exciting.
Is there a timeline on how long until you need to generate the funds, for wages?
No, not really. Tom Johns from the CFO over at Rock Ventures recently popped his head over by me and said, "We still have to pay for you next year?" I said, "Yes, please." And so he said, "Okay, it's not a problem for next year." I said, "Yes, please." And so he said, "Okay, it's not a problem. You take your time and get this thing off the ground. When you're ready, you take it off, let me know." So I would imagine that there would be a point, but I think that they're confident in saying that Engage Franklin will be led by a board of directors that will have that in it.
And then get a list of who those folks are?
Yeah, absolutely. It's 7 with 2 vacancies I'd like to fill still. So I'd still like 1 more from the Hampton. I haven't heard back from Lance yet, but I do want to make sure that there's somebody from Hampton in. And then the original council seat was going to be filled by Alderman Nelson, but considering he's in the rural race, I'd like to.
Yeah, because if he doesn't make the mayor, he won't be.
Then he won't be alderman, right? And if he was made mayor, then he's also a conflict of interest. So, we just don't want to put him or anyone else in a position to feel like a temporary thing. We want it to be solid and.
Sounds good.
Can you tell us who the other people are who have already?
Yes. Okay, so we have Mike Zimmerman. We have Jim Picard. We have Mark as your representative from the commission. So he would be the pipeline of information from each board meeting or anything that you. We have Joey Olivo. He's from the Rock. He's from the Rock Sports Group. He does the negotiations with the groups to their hotel rates and any kickbacks or rebates or anything like that. So I felt like getting him in the room with the innkeepers would be a very smart move. They could have a great relationship. 2, 3. 2, 3. Then we have Steve Taylor, non-voting. So he's a great resource. He's been in this community a really long time and he's passionate. But considering his role on the county board and considering his role in many political other types of things, he and the rest of the board members considered to be non-voting. What am I? Myself. I'll be on the board. And then we have Roy Wagner from Hart Hotel Group, with the new hotel group that's going up. And then sorry, I feel bad for the other person I'm getting right now. I will get you the name as soon as it pops into my head.
Yeah, how many spots did you say would be from the commission?
One.
The commission?
One from the commission and 1 other person. Which is.
But originally it was more than that.
It was going to be it's 7 to 11 in the bylaw. 7 to 11 is the amount that we kind of categorized, and I think 9 is a full number. Unless of course we have people who are.
For some reason, it might just be my faulty memory. For some reason, they thought there was going to be like 3 from the commission.
Oh no, unfortunately, well, I mean, we can offer more. Well,
I mean, that would have been.
I invited Jeff.
That would have been from our original discussions.
Yeah, well, and that's fine because there would have been, a little bit more because I invited Jeff. He's, he has plenty of commitment over at the Polish Center. But I did that because it's the largest meeting space in town. So we can move forward with trying to fill that. I also wanted to have somebody from food and beverage who I'm still seeking out. So I asked Daryl Malik, but he doesn't mean that we're done searching.
Any other questions?
What happened, John, with what happened, John, with you consolidated?
So
What we've done is we've just forwarded those on attorneys at Corals, and he can put that together. And because you want to make sure that they're formatted appropriately and even are appropriate.
we gave Corals and Brady 2 to 3 weeks. About 2 weeks. That was weeks, and that was based off of whatever email we got.
And even if we hadn't made any adjustments to it,
Oh, I
it
understand.
should be.
No, I mean,
So the way it's on the agenda for tonight is we can vote for this. Or we should put anything that our attorney would come back in. So we can still vote.
okay.
We just need to remember that our attorney is still reviewing over this. If there's any comments or concerns or questions that come his way, take that in comments or concerns or questions that come his way, take that in consideration in the vote. That's how we left it, so we're not delaying anything.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Laura. Right, about 6:18. Item number 5, sorry, Carl Collective Draft Proposal. Hi, Eric.
Hey guys, good to see you.
I'm gonna move my hat.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Good to see you, and thank you for having me back. And I appreciate the opportunity to give a little update on since our last meeting, and also talk about a few options in addition to what I believe was discussed, or at least what was approved at the last meeting. So we dive into this here. In front of you, let me pass this out first. So what you'll see in the PowerPoint slides will be it's just literally essentially a PowerPoint-ish version of what you see there. It's a revised scope for Carl Collective, and it references the $15,000. There's several options in there. You'll see several. One being the $15,000, and a couple of other more beyond that as well. So, option 1. Now, before we even dive into this, you remember, I don't think I have to do an explanation of who we are, what we do. If you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. But Carl Collective continues on a strong trajectory. In fact, we're opening our brand new office tomorrow. This continues on a strong trajectory. In fact, we're opening our brand new office tomorrow. This furniture was literally delivered today on Marquette's campus. We'll have 2 locations: a student collaboration space in Johnston Hall at Marquette, and now a new office on near 16th Wells. As we're growing, we just hired also our second full-timer. One was here last time, Patrick. We just hired Gabby, a recent graduate as well. So we now have 2 full-timers in Milwaukee. We have a student team of 4, and that is growing as well. We expect to add in during the first semester, and especially as we go into summer and the next fall. And client-wise, growing and actively seeking to grow. And now have made a ton of investment in the firm, in our clients, in a lot of things, in our people. I think now is the year we make this investment pay off and deliver on the promise of Carl Collective, which is in many ways Gen Z insights from Gen Z. And our 2 new hires are 21, 22 years old, rising star profession, and our student team is similar to that. All surrounded by the brief summary of Trezolo Communication Group, 80 people in Kansas City, a full-service firm that has done destination marketing work for decades. 33 years old and has got a number of clients. Destination marketing work for decades. 33 years old and has got a number of clients to show off in that regard. We showed you Overland Park, Kansas last time. There are others. So it's a huge experience wrapped around Carl Collective and the for-profit partnership with Marquette. So strong story to tell locally, and also with Trezolo, our parent company. And that's where we come today, setting the stage here. So in hearing the follow-up from the meeting last time, and again, I appreciate the conversations afterwards with staff and John specifically, This is, we think what you're asking for, and we can talk more about it. Some detail more in there, but this is essentially the bullet points. We'll talk about that final report, what we see in there as well. Maybe it might go a bit beyond even what you had approved the last meeting. But so this is what we see as option one. Again, that up to $15,000 investment that we believe you approved, and correct me if I'm wrong, at the last meeting prior to the holidays. So again, it comes down to reviewing existing data and information, potentially attaining some new, and we'll talk about that in a second. But in developing insights, key message, basically a key message, like who do we think is a top audience? And we say audiences, we'll probably explore more than one. Options to consider tonight as you vote that we think would make this option even stronger and deliver, I think, even more actionable insights and messages that just we think inform our work a lot more, and more of the work of this commission, engage Franklin, and I think inform whoever is doing this work a lot more. But this, as we see, is option one. Option two, we're suggesting a consideration by this body of adding an additional survey done by us, maybe with a partner, but likely by us and our student group. We've actually done some excellent work in surveys. And focus groups, etc. Just in our first year here. We think there's more work to be done, more data to be gathered from what we saw with the field work, which we saw somewhat of a cursory review and a small sample size, especially those that we think we can do better and we can do more. And I think it would help inform the work we would do and inform all of the work in the future. Working with hotels, working with other destinations, working with partners to develop the survey, working and then finding the right people. The need for a bit more data from visitors, current visitors especially. Who's coming to the Rock? Who's staying at the Hampton? Who's staying at Staybridge? Who's coming to event A, event B? Who's coming to the Symphony? Whatever. Who's using Kalis? Whoever we think those are the parks, the destinations are that we can all or the parks, the destinations are that we can all agree on, and very quickly, who's going there and why are they there? We think there's some data missing there. We think there's more to be gotten there from what our initial review is of the field work. So that's why we suggest a potential additional investment. We think pretty affordable potential additional investment. We think pretty affordable, actually. If you look at Survey World, it's a pretty affordable number. It's partly because our students, we do a lot of this work and able to deliver that at that price point. So option two. And then I would say a third additional option that we would be, we think, larger proposal, I pulled it back out to bring here, is the need for assets. So no matter what happens here tonight, going forward, we think Franklin lacks strong video assets specifically. Could be photo assets, things like that, visual assets, but we'll call them video here. Assets specifically could be photo assets, things like that, visual assets, but we'll call them video here. We think it's primarily video based. We think that is something we should start gathering immediately. As we go through the strategic work plan, mining the data, insights, and that will happen, we think, in Q1 this spring. We think it's not going to affect, we should think there should be all seasons footage. We think there should be, there's people enjoying the Rock right now. There's people enjoying events right now. The Christmas parade would have been an example, things like that. So I think our goal in working with you is to leave, one of our goals is to develop and leave you with a library of really strong footage we would do hopefully later on. But we suggest we start right away. Again, if we think of options, we got the $15,000 option. We've got the suggestion of a potential additional survey, and then this of a range of costs. Again, it depends on the cost. Will give you the amount of footage, basically, but will help you deliver something like this, and starting right now and not waiting, because we think it'll be, no matter how we move forward or don't move forward with us at all, this will be important. I think it's Franklin lacks this, from best I can tell. So. Quickly, and I'll obviously take questions on this. Just a couple more slides. We think our approach on option. Just a couple more slides. We think our approach on option one, and with a survey or thought, would be this. Again, strategic approach, right? It starts with a deep dive and talking with you. I think again, getting to the idea of what data do we have, we pretty much know that. What data are we missing? What should we seek? So some of it is, we think a data exists out there we could pull from that we don't have to do another survey on. It's hotel stays. It's whatever the Rock is willing to provide. Where are their people coming from? We think some of that would be really helpful. Events, what are they tracking already that might be able to be leveraged we don't have? Maybe we don't know we don't have. Maybe it doesn't exist, but at least for you to identify what we think we'd like to know, see if it's there. Again, we think with the deep dive, that will help. We'll identify what to get. We'll talk to you. We'll talk to other stakeholders. Again, starting with a strategic approach with this deep dive, and again, the data. Diving into what we have, what we think we can get relatively easily with your support, with partner support, and then make really informed strategic insights and recommendations, messages from that. So that's a little bit of our approach. We didn't dive a ton into that because I wanted to see how the discussion went tonight about exactly what we'd be doing, if we'd be getting more data or not, things like that. But we look forward to doing all of this, exactly what we'd be doing, if we'd be getting more data or not, things like that. But we look forward to doing all of this and presenting then a final report that we think will deliver what was asked before the holidays, probably even a bit more, but look at maybe multiple audiences. But again, we think there's probably more data to get if it exists already, or if we need to get it as a survey or both, bring insights around that data and deliver something of value. We think going forward, no matter what happens, we think can be of significant value to the commission, to others, to bring to life. We want that to be us, obviously. Presented your proposal, we think is a strong one. We think we have a trip going forward. So, and to that last point, I think that was the last slide, and that is to what Laura presented. These are all these ideas. Terrific. I think there could be others. I look at this. I've said it, I think, last time I was here. There is an important. What those are. That word's me, right? Often people think the click is most important. I think the word here is the most important. If I looked at a role for Carl Collective, potentially, it's we help deliver the here. So when you go to a trade show, when you go to a visit, we do digital, social, we do a lot of these things. What story are we telling? We do digital, social, we do a lot of these things. What story are we telling? I think that's where the value we provide the most is getting to that story, helping effectively tell that story through strong creative, strong messaging, creative concepts that maybe are out of the box a bit. But again, what is the story we're telling? How are we telling it? I think that's where we can play a strong role. I think our earlier proposal hits on that, the process we use to get there, from creative exploration to concepts to delivering an actual campaign that can be brought to life in all of these places and more. So we think we really excel, and we think can play very well together potentially, I think, to me. But again, that's your determination to make. But I think what we can deliver is again, that really strong story for Franklin, driven by insights and actionable data that can really, and we think in the end drive heads and beds, right? That's what we're about here. We think that we can do that, and we've demonstrated that for years, for decades, and are excited to do that here. So I will be quiet now and take some questions. But thank you for the opportunity to share an update and share some potential additional options.
Questions?
Excuse me.
Information that you gather and surveys and all that, is that going to be mostly for us, our rights, or is that going to be held in your possession?
You're paying us for it, you sure?
That's, well,
I think it becomes public too, I think, but yeah, yes, it is yours. So we think we think it would be helpful to get a bit more, but again, that's where you want to dive in. It's a bit more. We know there's some data that probably does exist that we don't have, but we certainly, from what we've seen, if that's all we have as far as external visitors, but Thiel did, I think we can do more and better. And up to date too. I think that's a couple years old, and obviously things have changed a bit in the world in the last few years too.
I have another question.
Go ahead.
Are there going to be like quarterly updates, or is it something that projections that you can...
Yeah, so a good question. Probably so I think to rack this work up, deliver on this really into the spring. I don't want to give you an exact date now, but I think this is not going to take a super long time. As long as we have cooperation from partners, from this body, from the city, collecting this data. The survey would slow it down a little bit, but I think it would be worth it. The asset gathering is a term effort. So to me, it's like this would be some months. We can figure out the exact timeline, but not, I don't think, beyond the spring. But the asset gathering we suggest, and that 25 to 40 number could carry us well into the year. We'd have to sit down and say, okay, what do we get for what we get? But I think that's a longer term effort that we think we'd want to start now. People enjoying the winter season, the spring season, summer season, fall, and it's, then all of a sudden you've got a terrific library of assets you can draw upon for John, the work you do, the work Vista, Laura, whoever. I mean, I think that can be a huge value, and we can create things from those assets too. We would absolutely look to do that. The larger partnership. Too, we would absolutely look to do that. The larger partnership.
In talking about the survey, how broad would that be, and who would you be surveying?
Great question. So a little bit TBD. I think the current, if I remember the Theo one, I think it was like 50 people. If I'm wrong, but it was, so I think we'd want to, I don't want to give you a hard number, but I think it would be significant enough to be significant that we think this would deliver the insights we need. I think it's certainly about number, but it's also about really targeting the right people. So again, who's using the Rock? Who's staying at the hotels? Why are they there? Companies. What is Northwestern Mutual really doing when it comes to business travel? I think that's probably a question that if somebody asked from the city, what we're really doing when it comes to business travel. I think that's probably a question that if somebody asked from the city, that yeah, we bring in X number of executives in the last 6 months, and that is kind of what we want to get to, and really the right targeted number. So it's not necessarily just a volume survey. I mean, we could stop 100 people on the street, but that's not who we want. We could stop 100 people at the Rock, people on the street, but that's not who we want. We could stop 100 people at the Rock. That's not who we want necessarily. The right people to get the right insights. So a little bit TBD, but it's working with you and other partners to really understand who do we want to talk to find out who you are, why you're here, how long you're staying, what'll keep you coming back. I think that will really inform. But as a quick aside, I mean, we just did like a 200 student survey at Marquette. I mean, it's not going to be a small number. I don't know if 200 is a number, but certainly numbers matter. You've got to have a critical mass, and it's got to be statistically valid, things like that. So we'd work with you to determine that. And cost does come in. 10K is not a ton for a survey.
Tap into the business community, because I know that there are businesses that bring people in on a fairly regular basis, sometimes from out of the country.
Yeah.
And even though they may be coming here, I'm looking for ways to tap into them to the benefit of our other local business.
100%. So
Other local business.
100%. So I would say part of our work is gathering that data without a survey. I think it would just be an ask maybe from staff, from John, from others, the mayor, whoever, saying, look, NML, look, Ascension, look, large employer here, any Franklin business, I mean, you name the Franklin Business Park employer, so whatever. We really want to get a handle on like your tourism, your travel, who's coming here and who's staying here and why. We don't necessarily have to talk to the individuals. We want to at least get the very handle on the businesses, the larger ones that are attracting a lot of overnight stays, and kind of understanding that a bit more. I don't think we have a full grasp of that. Maybe we do. I mean, conversations I've had with some people on this panel, I don't think we do. I want to make sure we have a good understanding as a firm of that information. Some people on this panel, I don't think we do. I want to make sure we have a good understanding as a firm of that information, and that's just talking to people, talking to the person who books executive travel at NML, or the people who do that, things like that. I think that's easily gettable. When I was at Miller Coors, I mean, not easily, but it exists, and it's just finding the right people to get it, making those inquiries and getting it.
Just a personal aside, I was really surprised a couple of years ago talking to a small business in Berlin, small, unassuming business, but the guy has 50 sales reps throughout the country that he brings in once a quarter.
That's there. So we want to know that, and so maybe it's not the largest, but I think it's some of that will come from the hotels too. I'd like to the hotel data, as much as we're able to mine that and get that, would be really interesting. Like, they would know the largest corporate bookers. They would know, but even zip codes would be super helpful, right? Like, I would want the Hampton, and I don't pretend to know if they'll give us this, but I'd want to know in the last year what's your zip code to people you stayed. That to me seems not violating any privileges or confidential. That would be hugely valuable. Data that we think easily exists. It's just running literally a spreadsheet to get it. Email list. I think there's information out there we'd want to sit down and really hone in on. Where are we trying to get it? How are we going to do it with your help? On the asset piece, does Franklin have that? I've not seen it. If you do, we think that there's an opportunity. I know that South Milwaukee didn't have it. I think a lot of communities don't have it, but it's something that I think could be of value too. So as you consider,
I think that was the intent with the deal potentially there.
okay,
Because with the part, I think that was the intent with the deal potentially there.
okay,
Because with the partnership of economic development
got it.
and us.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Again, I know you've got some big decisions to make, and we stand to be a partner. I mean, and not in isolation. I think to me, you'll make the decision. But we exist to strategically tell stories and help solve problems strategically and do it in a really creative way and tell stories in that creative way. I'm excited to put our students to work, put our larger Kansas City team to work, me to work, to tell and really drive and deliver on your mission, heads and beds, and telling the story of Franklin to get that done. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, Eric.
You have copies of everything, so good.
6:38, close item number 5. Item number 6, we're going to go into closed session. 5, item number 6, we're going to go into closed session. Engage Franklin and Carl collective proposal conversation. The Tourism Commission may enter closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85 1E to deliberate upon Franklin Field naming rights agreement between Franklin Tourism Commission and Milwaukee Milkmen Baseball LLC effective July 1st, 2020. A proposed tourism identity agreement between Franklin Tourism Commission and Engage Franklin. Negotiation of provision terms and the investing of public funds in relation to competitive bargaining reasons to re-enter open session, same place thereafter to act on such matters discussed therein as a deemed appropriate.
Move to go into closed session.
Get a second?
My second.
Seconds. All in favor?
My second.
Seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Should I wait around or probably expect a phone call?
Give you a phone call.
All right, sounds good.
All right. We're back from closed session.
That we move forward with Engage Franklin, subject to conditions that may be imposed based on review by our attorneys. That we seek to have them take over responsibility for naming rights, funding to them that would incorporate the naming rights. We want to look for a proposal length of 2 years and base activities. We want to we want to look at the projects that are being funded, and our initial estimate would be not to exceed $75,000 a year. Concern about the makeup of the board of Engage Franklin, we would look to have them add 3 non-rock ventures people board to help us ease the concerns that we hear from other Franklin residents. Make this a more Franklin thing, not just rock. Other Franklin residents. Make this a more Franklin thing, not just rock.
Was
those would be agreed on by the, those additional members.
All right, call for vote.
I would second that.
Got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right, approved.
Mr. Chair, I would just note that we went back into open at 7, open at 7:50.
Oh, sorry, 7:58. Now the Carl Collective.
I make a motion that we continue to presented tonight on the spaces of his first proposal for the research and development of the operation.
A second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. All right, 8 o'clock.
We don't have any, but we will at some point have some coming in for new signs, but I think we need to discuss how many signs, or how many banners, I should say. We have to replace banners, but I think we need to discuss how we want to approach replacing the banner.
So we can put that on the meeting for.
Just a question. At the last meeting, the commission approved the $500 to the concerts in the park. Does that need a voucher approval?
We have no, I don't have anything to say.
Don't have any from City Hall, but it is being processed.
Yes.
Okay, understand.
Okay. 8:01. Item number 9, next meeting. That would fall third week. So
Says planning that I will not be down all of it.
okay.
And if we can change things so we can do a phone call, like, I'm available.
So we won't try to put much on the next meeting then. So I think we should still meet, keep going. Would that be the 15th then? That's the third Wednesday we meet?
15th would be the normal.
I'm in town, so I'm fine. Actually, all right. I actually have practice that night, so can we move it to earlier in that week?
I won't be back until 13th.
Okay. Can we move it to the 22nd?
That's Ash Wednesday.
You here the 22nd?
I should-
The 22nd?
I should.
Have you here?
Thanks. Oh, hang on a second.
Fly back 20th, so I'm gone the 17th.
Yeah, it should be good on the 22nd.
All right. John, we're going to move this, we're going to have it for February 22nd.
Okay.
Is that okay?
I'm try to pull up the February 20. I think it's fine. Yeah.
22nd at 6 p.m. Can I have a motion for adjournment?
Move the adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.